Hey there, coin enthusiasts, history buffs, and treasure hunters, welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the fascinating world of numismatics, uncovering the stories behind the coins that make collectors' hearts race and wallets tremble. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of folks obsessed with the hidden gems in their pocket change. Because today we're embarking on an epic journey into one of the most jaw-dropping tales in modern coin collecting, the story of a 1985 D Washington quarter that's rumored to be worth a staggering $88 million due to its rare errors and mistakes, a coin that transforms a humble 25-cent piece into a potential fortune. So buckle up as we explore the history, the errors, the possibilities, and the wild speculation surrounding this elusive treasure, peeling back the layers of what makes this particular quarter a holy grail for collectors worldwide. Let's start by setting the stage. It's 1985, a year of big hair, neon leg warmers, and Back to the Future hitting theaters, and the Denver Mint is churning out Washington quarters by the millions, specifically 519,962,888 of them, making the 1985 D quarter one of the most common coins of its era, with a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel over a copper core, weighing 5.67 grams, measuring 24.3 millimeters in diameter, and featuring John Flanagan iconic design of George Washington's profile on the obverse and a heraldic eagle clutching arrows and olive branches on the reverse, a design first introduced in 1932 to celebrate Washington's bicentennial. So with such a massive mintage, you'd think this coin would be worth little more than its face value, maybe a few bucks in pristine uncirculated condition. But the numismatic world thrives on the unexpected, and it's the errors, those glorious mistakes made during the minting process, that can turn an ordinary quarter into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. And the 1985 D quarter, in particular, has sparked feverish speculation about errors so rare and so dramatic that they could command an astronomical $88 million at auction, a figure that sounds like something out of a coin collector's wildest dreams. But let's break it down and examine the types of errors, the conditions, and the possibilities that could elevate this Denver minted quarter to such an extraordinary valuation. First, we need to understand what makes a coin error valuable, because not every mistake is created equal, and in the case of the 1985 D quarter, we're talking about errors that are not just minor imperfections but game-changing anomalies that make collectors and investors sit up and take notice. So let's dive into the most significant error types that could theoretically push a 1985 D quarter into the stratosphere of value, starting with the double die error, which occurs during the hubbing process when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing the design to be impressed twice, resulting in a visible doubling effect on elements like the lettering, date, or portrait. And for the 1985 D quarter, a dramatic double die error could manifest as a pronounced doubling of "In God We Trust," or the 1985 date on the obverse, or perhaps the eagle's wings or the words "United States of America" on the reverse. And while no major double die errors are widely documented for the 1985 D quarter, a hypothetical discovery of a bold, unmistakable double die could fetch prices in the hundreds or thousands, and if it were deemed unique or one of a kind, the value could climb exponentially, potentially into the millions, especially if graded MS67 or higher by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC, where pristine condition amplifies rarity. Another error to consider is the off-center strike, where the coin's design is misaligned because the planchet, the blank metal disc, was not properly centered in the press, resulting in part of the design being cut off or shifted, with blank areas or incomplete rims. And for a 1985 D quarter, an off-center strike of 30% or more could be worth $100 to $500 in today's market, but an extreme off-center error, say 50% or greater, where half the coin's design is missing, could push the value into the thousands or tens of thousands, and if combined with other factors like pristine condition or additional errors, the price could soar further, as collectors love dramatic, visually striking errors that stand out in a collection. Then there's the possibility of a multiple strike error, where the coin isn't ejected from the press after the first strike and gets hit again, sometimes multiple times, creating a chaotic, layered appearance. And while a double-struck 1985 D quarter with a slight off-center second strike might sell for $190 to $250 based on auction records, a coin struck 3 or more times with significant misalignment could fetch $800 or more, and if the strikes are so misaligned that the coin appears almost unrecognizable, its uniqueness could drive the value into the 6 or 7 figures, especially if it's a one-of-a-kind error that captures the imagination of deep-pocketed collectors. Another intriguing error is the wrong planchet error, where a quarter is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, like a dime or a nickel, or even a foreign coin. And while no such errors are confirmed for the 1985 D quarter, a hypothetical case where a quarter was struck on, say, a silver planchet from an earlier era, perhaps a leftover from the pre-1965 silver quarter days, would be a numismatic bombshell, potentially valued in the millions due to its impossibility under normal minting conditions, as the Denver Mint in 1985 was strictly using copper-nickel-clad planchets, so such an error would require an extraordinary mix-up at the mint, making it a once-in-a-lifetime find. Lamination errors, where the coin's surface flakes or peels due to impurities in the planchet metal, are another possibility, and while a typical lamination error on a 1985 D quarter might fetch $50 to $195, a severe lamination exposing the copper core in a dramatic way could push the value higher, especially if the coin remains in uncirculated condition, as collectors prize errors that reveal the minting process's imperfections in a visually compelling way. Clipped planchet errors, where the coin is missing a crescent-shaped piece due to an improperly cut planchet, are also collectible, and while a standard clipped planchet might be worth $20 to $100, a 1985 D quarter with multiple clips or an unusually large clip could command a premium, potentially in the thousands if it's paired with high-grade condition or other errors. Then there's the mated pair error, where two coins are struck together in the press, creating unique impressions on both, and a documented mated pair from 1985 could sell for $1,725 or more, as seen in some auction records, but a particularly dramatic mated pair with clear evidence of the error could push the value much higher, especially if both coins are preserved together. Die cracks, where the die used to strike the coin develops fractures that leave raised lines on the coin's surface, are relatively common but can add value, with a 1985 D quarter showing significant die cracks selling for $50 to $150, and if the cracks create a unique pattern or affect key design elements, the price could climb further. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the $88 million valuation, which seems almost fantastical given that even the rarest 1985 D quarters in top condition, like an MS-67 Plus example that sold for $3,775 in 2019, are nowhere near that figure. So where does this number come from? And what kind of error or combination of errors could justify such a price? The answer lies in the realm of hypothetical scenarios and collector frenzy, where a 1985 D quarter with multiple, dramatic errors, say, a double die combined with an off-center strike, struck on a wrong planchet, and preserved in pristine MS-68 or higher condition, could spark a bidding war among the world's top collectors, especially if it's certified as unique by a grading service. And the $88 million figure likely stems from exaggerated online speculation, clickbait articles, or misinterpretations of other high-value coin sales, like the 1970 S-proof quarter struck on a 1941 Canadian quarter planchet that sold for $35,000, or the 1969 S-double-die Lincoln cent that fetched over $100,000, but let's explore the possibilities that could push a 1985 D quarter into the eight-figure range. Imagine a coin with a triple strike, each strike off-center by 40%, struck on a silver planchet from a pre-1965 batch that somehow made its way into the Denver Mint's presses, with a bold double die on both the obverse and reverse, and graded MS-69 by PCGS, a condition so pristine it's virtually unheard of for a 1985 D quarter, as only a handful of MS-67 examples are known, and none above that grade, so this coin would be a numismatic unicorn, a one-of-a-kind error that defies all odds, and its discovery would send shockwaves through the collecting community, drawing comparisons to legendary coins like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, which sold for over $3 million, or the 1933 Double Eagle, which fetched $18.9 million in 2021, and in a heated auction environment, with billionaire collectors and museums vying for the prize, it's not entirely impossible for the price to climb into the tens of millions, though $88 million feels like a stretch unless fueled by unprecedented hype or a unique historical context, like a documented story of how the error occurred, perhaps involving a mint worker's mistake or a rare malfunction in the minting equipment. Another factor that could drive such a valuation is the coin's provenance, meaning its history of ownership or discovery. So if this 1985 D quarter were found in a famous collection, like that of John J. Pittman, whose coins have sold for millions, or if it were linked to a high-profile event, like being discovered in a time capsule or a bank vault sealed since 1985, the story could add significant value, as collectors love coins with a narrative that elevates them beyond mere metal, and the media frenzy surrounding such a find could amplify its price, with news outlets hyping it as the $1 million quarter, and auction houses marketing it as a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Condition is another critical factor, as the 1985 D quarter is notoriously difficult to find in gem quality grades, with PCGS noting that fewer than 200 examples exist in MS66 and only a handful in MS67, so a coin with multiple errors in MS68 or higher would be exceptionally rare, and if it's a full strike, with sharp details and brilliant luster, it could command a premium far beyond typical error coins, as collectors pay top dollar for perfection, especially when combined with dramatic errors. The market dynamics also play a role, as the coin collecting world has seen explosive growth in recent years, with high net worth individuals entering the hobby and driving prices to new heights, as seen in the $18.9 million sale of the 1933 Double Eagle or the $10 million sale of a 1794 Flowing Hair dollar. So a 1985 D quarter with a unique combination of errors could ride this wave of enthusiasm, especially if it captures the public's imagination through viral social media posts or a feature on a major TV network, turning it into a cultural phenomenon as much as a numismatic one. Now, let's consider the specific errors mentioned in the context of the 1985 D quarter, starting with the double die, which, while not widely reported for this year in mint, could theoretically occur if the die was misaligned during hubbing, creating a noticeable doubling effect, and if this doubling is bold and affects key elements like Washington's portrait or the date, it could be worth $25 to $100 for minor examples, but a major double die, akin to the 1955 Lincoln cent double die that sells for $1,000 to $2,000, could push the value into the thousands or tens of thousands, and if it's a previously unknown variety discovered in 2025, the excitement of a new find could drive prices even higher. Off-center strikes, as mentioned, are highly collectible, and a 1985 D quarter with a 50% off-center strike, where half of Washington's face or the eagle is missing, could fetch $500 to $1,000, but an extreme 70% off-center strike, leaving just a sliver of the design, could be worth $5,000 or more, especially if it's in uncirculated condition, as the visual impact of such an error is irresistible to collectors. Multiple strikes, particularly triple or quadruple strikes, are exceedingly rare, and a 1985 D quarter with 3 off-center strikes, each misaligned differently, could sell for $800 to $2,000 based on auction precedents, but a coin with 4 or more strikes, creating a chaotic, almost abstract design, could push the value into the tens of thousands, as it would be a one-of-a-kind piece with no known parallels. Wrong planchet errors, while speculative for 1985 D quarters, are among the most valuable in numismatics, and a quarter struck on a silver planchet would be a minting anomaly of epic proportions, potentially worth $50,000 or more, as it would defy the standard production processes of the Denver Mint, which hadn't used silver for quarters since 1964. So such a coin would require a freak accident, like a silver planchet from an earlier era being mixed into the 1985 production, and if verified, it could command a price in the 6 or 7 figures due to its impossibility. Lamination errors, while less dramatic, can still add value, with a 1985 D quarter showing severe peeling or flaking of the copper-nickel layer exposing the copper core fetching $50 to $200, and a particularly striking example, where the lamination covers a significant portion of the coin, could be worth $500 or more, especially if it's in MS65 or better condition. Clipped planchet errors, where the coin is missing a piece due to an improper cut, are valued at $20 to $100 for minor clips, but a 1985 D quarter with multiple clips or a large, crescent-shaped clip could fetch $500 to $1,000, and if combined with other errors, like a double strike, the value could climb higher. Mated pair errors, where 2 coins are struck together, are rare and highly prized, with a 1985 D mated pair potentially worth $1,725 to $5,000, depending on the clarity of the error and the condition of both coins, and if the pair is preserved together, it could attract serious collector interest, pushing the price into the tens of thousands. Die cracks, while common, can add value if they're significant, with a 1985 D quarter showing a prominent die crack through Washington's portrait or the eagle's wings fetching $50 to $150, and if the crack creates a unique pattern, like a cud where a piece of the die breaks off, leaving a raised blob on the coin, it could be worth $200 to $500. Now, let's address the $88 million figure directly, because while it's tantalizing, it's likely a product of exaggeration or confusion with other high-profile coin sales, as no 1985 D quarter has ever sold for anywhere near that amount, with the highest recorded sale being an MS67 Plus example for $3,775 in 2019. So to reach $88 million, a 1985 D quarter would need to combine multiple ultra-rare errors, be in pristine condition, and benefit from a perfect storm of market hype, collector competition, and media attention. So imagine a coin with a triple off-center strike, a bold double die on both sides, struck on a silver planchet, and graded MS69, discovered in a high-profile context like a sealed mint bag or a famous collection, and auctioned in a booming market where billionaire collectors are eager to own a piece of history. And even then, $88 million would be a stretch, but not entirely impossible if the coin becomes a cultural phenomenon, like the Mona Lisa of coins, drawing bids from institutions and investors worldwide. The reality, though, is that most 1985 D quarters in circulation are worth 25 cents to a few dollars, with uncirculated examples in MS65 fetching $10 to $20, and even error coins typically top out at a few $100s, so the $88 million valuation is more of a numismatic urban legend than a documented reality. But it's a reminder of how errors can transform a common coin into something extraordinary, and for collectors, the hunt for that one-in-a-million error is what fuels the passion, as every roll of quarters could contain a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. To identify a potentially valuable 1985 D quarter, check the mint mark, located on the obverse behind Washington's ponytail, to confirm it's a D for Denver, then inspect the coin under good lighting for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, or unusual metal composition, and use a digital scale to verify the weight, as a standard 1985 D quarter should be 5.67 grams, but a wrong planchet error could be lighter or heavier, and if you suspect an error, have it appraised by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, as their certification can significantly increase the coin's value, and for selling such a coin, you'd want to contact reputable auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, or consult a trusted coin dealer, as they have the expertise to market high-value errors to serious collectors, and online platforms like eBay can work for lower-value errors, but for a multi-million-dollar coin, you'd need the reach and credibility of a major auction house. The allure of the 1985 D quarter lies not just in its potential value but in the stories it tells, from the minting mishaps that created these errors to the collectors who dream of finding one, and while the $88 million figure may be more myth than reality, it captures the imagination and reminds us why we love coin collecting, because in every handful of change, there's a chance to uncover a piece of history worth far more than its face value, so keep searching, keep learning, and who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to find that legendary 1985 D quarter that rewrites the record books, and if you do, let us know in the comments below, share your own coin stories, give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe for more numismatic adventures, because the next treasure could be just a quarter away. Next, imagine pulling a quarter from your pocket, a humble 1981 D Washington quarter, and discovering it's worth a staggering $55 million, a figure that's been whispered across numismatic circles and hyped up on the internet, sparking curiosity and dreams of striking it rich with pocket change. But let's dive into the reality of this coin, its errors, its mistakes, and the tantalizing possibilities that could drive its value to such an astronomical height, while critically examining whether this valuation holds up under scrutiny, because the 1981 D quarter, minted in Denver with a mintage of over 575 million, is one of the most common coins of its era, yet specific errors and unique characteristics can transform an ordinary piece of change into a collector's holy grail. So let's explore the intricate details of what makes this coin potentially so valuable, starting with its historical context, as the Washington Quarter series began in 1932 to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday, originally intended as a one-year celebratory coin but embraced so warmly by the public that it became a permanent fixture, replacing the standing Liberty quarter, and by 1981, these quarters were struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition, with a pure copper core and outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighing 5.67 grams and measuring 24.3 millimeters with a reeded edge, a design that's both practical and symbolic, featuring John Flanagan's iconic obverse portrait of Washington, based on Jean-Antoine Houdon's bust, paired with a reverse showcasing a heraldic eagle, wings spread, perched on arrows with olive branches, symbolizing readiness for defense and peace, inscribed with United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar, but it's the errors and varieties in the 1981 D that fuel the $55 million myth. So let's unpack the most significant ones, starting with the double die error, one of the most coveted mistakes in coin collecting, where the coin is struck multiple times by the die at slightly different angles, causing a visible doubling of elements like the date, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty" on the obverse, or even the eagle's feathers on the reverse, and for the 1981 D, a pronounced double die, especially on the obverse inscriptions, could fetch $100 to $500 for circulated examples, but an uncirculated specimen with dramatic doubling, graded MS67 or higher by services like PCGS or NGC, could theoretically command thousands, though nowhere near $55 million, as the most valuable 1981 D quarter known, graded MS-67, sold for just $375 in 2011, so the hype seems exaggerated. But let's consider another error, the filled D mint mark, where debris clogs the mint mark die, causing the D to appear partially filled or distorted. A common error valued at $10 to $30 in circulated condition, yet a pristine example with a unique filled D pattern might intrigue collectors enough to push values higher, perhaps into the hundreds for an MS-67 specimen. But again, this falls far short of millions, so we turn to the off-center strike, where the coin blank is misaligned during striking, resulting in a design that's shifted off the planchet, with values depending on the degree of misalignment. 3% to 5% off-center might bring $10 to $20, while a 50% off-center strike with a full date could reach $150 or more, and in rare cases, if the misalignment is extreme yet retains key design elements, collectors might pay several $100s, but still, this doesn't approach the $55 million mark, so let's explore a rarer error, the 1981 D quarter struck on a wrong planchet, such as a dime or nickel planchet, which is significantly smaller, causing the design to be cramped or partially missing. With known examples of 1981 quarters struck on dime planchets valued at around $200 to $960 due to their rarity, as the smaller planchet creates a visually striking error where Liberty or the mint mark jams against the rim. And if a 1981 D quarter were struck on an even rarer planchet, like a silver planchet left over from pre-1965 production, though no such examples are confirmed for 1981, the value could theoretically soar into the thousands, but still not millions, so we must consider the possibility of a unique, one-of-a-kind error, like a double denomination strike, where a 1981 D quarter is struck over a previously struck coin, such as a cent or dime, creating a coin with overlapping designs, and while a 1981 quarter struck on a cent planchet is valued at around $960, a hypothetical double denomination on a high-value coin, like a silver dollar planchet, could push values higher, perhaps into the tens of thousands. But the $55 million claim likely stems from unverified rumors or conflation with ultra-rare coins like the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar, which did sell for millions. So let's examine the grading factor, as condition is critical, with circulated 1981 D quarters worth face value, 25 cents, while uncirculated coins in MS-60 to MS-65 range from $3 to $10, and an MS-67 might fetch $195 to $375, but a perfect MS-70, if it exists, could command a premium, though no such grade is recorded for the 1981 D, and even proof quarters from 1981 S, with their Type 1 filled S or Type 2 clear S mint marks, reach only $508 to $2,530 at auction, so the $55 million figure seems to be a sensationalized myth, possibly fueled by social media or clickbait, as no auction record supports it. But let's consider the collector's market, where rarity, condition, and demand drive value, and a 1981 D quarter with a combination of errors, say, a double die obverse, off-center strike, and wrong planchet, could create a unicorn coin, a singular specimen with no known peers, and while such a coin could fetch thousands at auction, the $55 million valuation would require an unprecedented frenzy, perhaps driven by a celebrity buyer or a unique historical provenance, like a coin tied to a famous collection or event, but no such provenance exists for the 1981 D, so we must explore the possibility of a misattribution, where the $55 million claim might relate to a different coin, like the 1976 bicentennial quarter with rare errors, or a confusion with the 1983 P quarter, which is scarcer due to limited mint set distribution. But even those don't approach such values, so let's consider the die crack error, where a break in the die leaves raised lines on the coin, such as across the eagle's wing, valued at $50 to $100 in high grades, or the broad strike error, where the coin is struck without a collar, resulting in a wider, flatter appearance, potentially worth $100 to $300, but these are still modest compared to the hyped figure, and we should also note the possibility of a retained cud, where a piece of the broken die remains, creating a raised blob on the coin, valued at $50 to $200, or a clipped planchet, where part of the coin blank is missing, worth $20 to $100, but none of these errors, even in combination, justify $55 million, so perhaps the value stems from a speculative bubble, where collectors and investors, caught up in the excitement of rare coin auctions, drive prices to irrational heights, as seen with coins like the 1933 Double Eagle, which sold for $18.9 million, but the 1981 D lacks such historical gravitas. So we must consider counterfeits or altered coins, where someone might manipulate a 1981 D to mimic a rare error, though professional Grading services like PCGS or NGC would detect such fraud, and authenticated errors remain the true value drivers. So let's explore the market dynamics, where over 575 million 1981 D quarters were minted, making most examples common, with an estimated 201.5 million surviving, including 6 million in MS65 or better, flooding the market and keeping prices low unless a coin has a significant error. And even then, the highest recorded sale for a 1981 D is $375, so the $55 million claim might be a typo or exaggeration, perhaps meant to be $55,000 for an ultra-rare error, but no such sale is documented. And we should also consider the role of condition rarities, where a 1981 D in pristine MS70 condition, if it exists, could fetch a premium, but the clad composition of 1,981 quarters makes achieving such perfection difficult, as they often show contact marks or weak strikes, and even the finest known examples don't approach the millions. So let's delve into the possibility of a unique transitional error, where a 1981 D quarter might have been struck on a leftover silver planchet from the 1960s, though no such examples are confirmed, and the US Mint's strict controls make this unlikely. But if discovered, such a coin could fetch tens of thousands, still not $55 million. And we should also consider the Type B reverse variety, noted in some 1981 P quarters, with extra details on the eagle's beak, potentially present in 1981 D coins, though undocumented, and such a variety might add a $50 to $100 premium. But again, this doesn't explain the astronomical claim, so we must address the rumor's origin, likely a viral post or article, like those on platforms claiming you'll be a millionaire if you find this coin, which exaggerate values to attract clicks, as seen with other coins like the 1963 quarter or 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar, and the 1981 DS. Commonality undermines such claims, but let's imagine a scenario where a 1981 D quarter combines multiple errors: double die, off-center, wrong planchet, and a unique die crack, creating a coin so rare it's one of a kind. And if graded MS67 or higher, it could spark a bidding war, potentially reaching $10,000 to $50,000, but $55 million would require an unprecedented cultural or historical significance, like a coin owned by a president or tied to a major event. And no such story exists for the 1981 D, so we must conclude that the $55 million figure is likely a myth, but the hunt for errors like doubled dies, wrong planchets, or off-center strikes makes the 1981 D a fascinating target for collectors, as even modest errors can yield hundreds, and with a keen eye, you might find a gem in your change. So check your quarters, inspect the mint marks, dates, and alignments, and consult a grading service to verify any finds, because while $55 million is a fantasy, a valuable 1981 D quarter could still be hiding in your pocket, waiting to be discovered. Next, picture this. You're rummaging through your loose change, fishing out a 1997 P Washington quarter, a seemingly ordinary coin from the Philadelphia Mint, only to discover it's rumored to be worth a jaw-dropping $77 million, a figure that's been floating around online, igniting the imaginations of coin collectors and casual enthusiasts alike, promising a life-changing windfall from a mere 25-cent piece. But what could possibly make this common quarter one of over 595 million minted in 1997 so extraordinarily valuable? And is this $77 million claim even plausible? So let's embark on a deep dive into the world of numismatics to explore the errors, mistakes, and rare possibilities that could elevate a 1997 P quarter to such an astronomical value, while critically assessing whether this is a legitimate valuation or just another internet-fueled myth, starting with the historical backdrop of the Washington quarter, which debuted in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. Designed by John Flanagan after Jean-Antoine Houdon's bust, featuring Washington's left-facing portrait on the obverse with inscriptions like, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, paired with a reverse showcasing a heraldic eagle, wings spread, perched on arrows with olive branches, symbolizing strength and peace, inscribed with, "United States of America, e pluribus unum," and "quarter dollar," and by 1997, these quarters were struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition, with a pure copper core and outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighing 5.67 grams, measuring 24.3 millimeters, and featuring a reeded edge with 119 denticles. But it's the errors and varieties that could theoretically push a 1997 P quarters value into the stratosphere. So let's examine the most significant ones, beginning with the double die error, a collector's favorite where the coin is struck multiple times by a misaligned die, causing a visible doubling of elements like the date, Liberty, or "In God We Trust," on the obverse, or the eagle's feathers, arrows, or inscriptions on the reverse, and for a 1997 P quarter, a noticeable double die obverse might fetch $20 to $50 in circulated condition, while an uncirculated MS67 example could reach $200 to $500, but nothing close to $77 million, as even the finest known 1997 P quarter, graded MS67 Plus by PCGS, sold for $3,525 in 2016. So let's consider another error, the off-center strike, where the coin blank is misaligned during striking. Shifting the design off the planchet, with a 5% to 10% off-center strike valued at $15 to $30, a 25% off-center at $75 to $150, and a dramatic 50% off-center with a full date potentially reaching $300 to $500, but even these rare errors fall far short of millions. So we turn to the wrong planchet error, where a 1997 P quarter might be struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, like a dime or nickel, which are smaller, causing the design to appear cramped or partially missing, and known examples of quarters struck on dime planchets are valued at $200 to $1,000, with a 1997 P quarter on a dime planchet potentially fetching $500 to $960 due to its rarity, but if it were struck on a silver planchet, a leftover from pre-1965 production, though unconfirmed for 1997, it could theoretically command thousands, perhaps $5,000 to $10,000 in MS65, but still nowhere near $77 million, so let's explore the missing clad layer error, where one of the copper-nickel layers is absent. Exposing the copper core and creating a two-tone effect, with a 1997 D quarter exhibiting this error graded MS64 selling for $132 in 2021, and a 1997 P equivalent might fetch $100 to $300, but this is still a modest sum, so we consider the double denomination error, where a quarter is struck over a previously struck coin, like a cent or dime, creating overlapping designs, and while a quarter struck on a cent planchet might be worth $960 to $1,500, a hypothetical strike on a higher value planchet, like a silver dollar, could push values into the tens of thousands, but no such 1997 P example is documented, so let's examine the die crack error, where a break in the die leaves raised lines on the coin, such as across Washington's profile or the eagle's wing, valued at $10 to $50 in circulated condition and up to $100 in MS65, or the retained cut error, where a piece of the broken die remains, creating a raised blob, worth $50 to $200, but these are minor compared to the $77 million claim, so we explore the broad strike error, where the coin is struck without a collar, resulting in a wider, flatter appearance, potentially worth $100 to $400 in high grades, or the clip planchet error, where part of the coin blank is missing, valued at $20 to $100, but even combining multiple errors, say, a double die, off-center strike, and missing clad layer, wouldn't approach millions, so let's consider the grading factor, as condition is paramount, with circulated 1997 P quarters worth face value, 25 cents, uncirculated MS60 to MS65 examples at 30 cents to $14, and an MS67 at $200 to $500, while an MS68, extremely rare, might fetch $3,525, as seen in 2016, but no MS70 examples are known. And even proof 1997 S quarters, with their polished dies and mirror-like surfaces, sell for $19.99 to $74 in PR70 deep cameo, so the $77 million figure seems wildly exaggerated, likely stemming from a viral post or clickbait article, as no auction record supports it, but let's imagine a unicorn coin, a 1997 P quarter with a unique combination of errors, like a double die obverse, 50% off-center strike, missing clad layer, and struck on a dime planchet, graded MS67 or higher, which could spark a bidding war, potentially reaching $10,000 to $50,000, but $77 million would require an unprecedented collector frenzy or a unique provenance, like ownership by a historical figure, which no 1997 P quarter has, so we must consider misattribution, where the $77 million claim might confuse the 1997 P with a rarer coin, like the 1794 flowing hair dollar, which sold for millions, or a 1999 state quarter with a dramatic error, but the 1997 PS high mintage of 595,740,000 makes most examples common, with an estimated 208 million surviving, including 5.9 million in MS65 or better, flooding the market and keeping prices low unless a coin has significant errors. So let's explore the possibility of a transitional error, where a 1997 P quarter is struck on a silver planchet. Though the mint's strict controls make this unlikely, and no such examples are confirmed, but if discovered, it could fetch $5,000 to $15,000, still far from millions, and we should note the 1997 PS roll as one of the last heraldic eagle reverse quarters before the 50-state quarters program began in 1999, which might add sentimental value, but not millions. So we consider the repunched mint mark error, where the P is struck multiple times, slightly offset, valued at $20 to $100, or the weak strike error, where the design lacks detail, worth $10 to $50, but these are minor, and even a rotated die error, where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by 180 degrees, as mentioned in a collector's comment, might fetch $50 to $200, but no auction record supports a multi-million-dollar value, so the $77 million claim likely arose from a typo, perhaps meant to be $77,000 for an ultra-rare error, or a conflation with coins like the 1933 Double Eagle, which sold for $18.9 million, but the 1997 P lacks such historical weight, and we must address counterfeits or altered coins, where someone might manipulate a quarter to mimic a rare error, though grading services like PCGS or NGC would detect such fraud, and authenticated errors drive true value. So let's consider market dynamics, where rarity, condition, and demand dictate prices, and while a 1997 P quarter in pristine condition with multiple errors could fetch thousands, the $77 million figure would require a cultural phenomenon, like a coin tied to a major event or celebrity, but no such story exists, so we conclude that the $77 million valuation is likely a myth, fueled by online hype, but the 1997 P quarter remains a fascinating target for collectors, as errors like double dies, off-center strikes, or wrong planchets can yield hundreds or thousands, so check your change, inspect the mint marks, dates, and alignments, and consult a grading service to verify any finds, because while $77 million is a fantasy, a valuable 1997 P quarter could still be waiting in your pocket, ready to surprise you with its hidden worth.